What's up everyone, it's Sprometheus, and today I've got some exciting news. I was able to source, sample roast, and now I'm cupping the first coffees for Little Giant Coffee Roasters. So that is something I'm super excited about. I'm going to talk more about that later and show some cool footage. I got to use a Mill City sample roaster for the first time. That's the first roaster I've ever used other than the Dietrich I used at my previous job, so that was a learning experience for me. I'll show you a little bit of the space I'm going to be working in. Not quite everything yet because I kind of want to save that for further episodes. So let's look at some roasting and some other cupping stuff. So first things first, I want to dive into talking a little bit about roasting on the Mill City sample roaster. I believe it's a 1 kilo roaster, don't quote me on that. I was doing about 200 to 250 gram samples on this machine, so I wasn't going crazy high or maxing it out, anything like that, but I was really impressed with how the machine worked, how quickly changes in temperature and airflow and things like that take effect. I was used to a much slower moving roaster that really didn't show much difference, second to second. This one is definitely a little bit more of a different story. Obviously, I'm using a smaller batch, and smaller batches are a little bit harder to control, at least in my experience. So I wasn't really trying to aim for having a perfect declining rate of rise or any sort of perfect profile that could follow every single time. What I really wanted to do, at least with sample roasting, I'll talk a little bit more about this, but sample roasting for me is more about finding a coffee that tastes good. It's not so much about finding the perfect profile and then trying to match that profile when it comes to serving it as the full size or the full production roast and the production roast being sold. So I just wanted to roast this coffee, taste it, see what they were like. I can definitely find the notes that I want in these coffees. So getting these first batches weighed out and then dropped in was just so much fun. I was alone in the space. It was a Saturday morning, and it was just kind of great to kind of be in my own space and be in my own head. The only thing I didn't have was music, and I think that it was something I missed. Being behind a roaster and having time to myself to just kind of think about the coffee and think about how it's roasting and pay attention to those minute details that I really like to focus on. And it was like coming back to my roots, coming back to something that it's like my version of meditation. So now that I'm done roasting, I'm going to take these coffees home, put them away, and force myself to not look at them for 2 days because I like to degas my coffee for about 48 hours before tasting them. I find that moving too quickly into cupping, even within a day or so, I tend to taste the roaster, if that makes sense. Now let's dive into cupping. So cupping is something that we do as a roaster for quality control and also to choose coffees. Personally, I never choose the flavor notes that I'm going to put on a bag or something like that through cupping because cupping doesn't really translate to, let's say, a pour over or espresso or whatever you're trying to do with that coffee. I'm going to spend about 20 to 30 minutes cupping these coffees. So what I'm going to do is measure out 11 grams of each coffee in each cup, and I'm going to then grind them and smell the fragrance. And when I say fragrance, that is the term that we use in specialty coffee for the dry coffee grounds. So I'm going to go through each cup, smell the dry grounds, take a couple notes, then I'm going to add the water. After about 4 minutes, I'm going to do a process called breaking the crust. After you've let it brew for a certain period of time, it kind of develops all the grounds sort of sit on the surface. And when you first break that is when you get the most intense aroma from the coffee. Aroma, that's what we say in specialty coffee for coffee with water on it. Take a few notes on that, and then I'm going to clean off the surface so I'm not sipping on this coffee that's covered in grounds. At about 11 minutes, I'm going to start tasting these coffees, but what I like to do is taste the coffees over quite an extended period of time. I usually aim for 11 minutes to about 30 minutes, so I want to make sure I'm picking a coffee that will be good as long as it starts to decline in temperature. And as I pick these coffees, I'm going to start sliding ones back that I don't necessarily love. As you can see, I'm picking out a few different coffees here, and I'm going to be starting nailing these down as I move forward. And at the end of it, I was able to find this really unique, really delicious Ethiopian yirgacheffe that I'm super excited to finally announce is available for pre-order on my website right now at littlegiant.coffee. So hit that link in the description and check this out. I'm only selling 135 bags of this coffee, so it's going to go quickly, and I'm shipping to Australia, United Kingdom, Germany, Indonesia, United States, and Canada. So if you're in any of those countries, feel free to swing by and snag a bag, and there'll be more countries coming soon as I figure out all the shipping logistics. And a big thank you to my February Patreon supporters. They also helped me design this label, so that's super fun. Big thanks to Tim, Steven, Claire, Jonathan, Aiden, Nathan, Samantha, Mika, Bound Coffee, Spookus, Noel, Thomas S., Thomas B., Lisa, Robert, Brian, Rose, Squeegee, Matthew, Christopher, John K., and Ninja Warrior Coffee. And of course, a big shout out to the barista and barback tiers. If you want more information on the Patreon, there's a link to that up above right now and a link in the description. Last but not least, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that little bell button for notifications when I post new videos every Friday. Follow me on Instagram at Sprometheus for more posts throughout the week, my blog at sprometheus.com, and as always, stay caffeinated, Pony Boy.